Thanks for listening. This is Brian Hurley from Business Performance Improvement. The podcast Lean Six Sigma Bursts are short lessons, comments, Q&A, and insights. If you have a question, send your question through the Anchor app, and we might feature you on a future episode. Or contact me at biz-pi.com. Error proofing is a very common method for reducing mistakes and errors in your process. The Japanese word is called poka-yoke, so you might see that if you refer to other lean training material. The idea is to find simple, low-cost, but effective methods for reducing the chance of mistakes and errors from occurring. Here are some examples. On the left is a checklist. This is to help you remember things that you'll need in case of a disaster. On the light switch, there is a tab that has been placed over one of the switches that won't allow you to turn it on. Most of us are familiar with the tennis ball that tells you when to stop when you bring your car into the garage so you don't go too far, and you make sure you get far enough into the garage so that you don't hit the garage door when it comes down. In the middle bottom, you can see a blood pressure monitor. Personally, I get very confused about what the numbers mean. This monitor provides you with a red, yellow, and green indicator on whether those numbers are good or not. And a lot of the child-proof devices are good examples of mistake proofing, not letting kids get into areas where they're not supposed to be. In the upper left, you can see an alignment tool that allows you to put the handles in the same spot every time so it looks nicely aligned. In the bottom left is a pair of gloves that prevents you from getting cut if you use knives. The sticker on the top on the avocado tells you whether it's ripe or not, if you should open it or wait longer to prevent you from eating it too early. The tabs on the bottom prevent the TV from sliding too far forward, which has a tendency to fall over. And on the right, there is a clear indication of where the devices for the weight machine go when you're done. For your project, can you think of error-proofing devices that you could implement in your process? In the example below for making mouthwash, I drew a line in the funnel to indicate where the 2-cup line would be. This simplified the process, reduced time, and made it easy to get the right amount. And the best part is it costs no money to implement. Documentation is also a very popular method for making improvements to a process. The common method is that people will document and write up instructions on how the work should be done. But we want you to go beyond that and make something that's actually useful and helpful to the person who is doing the process. Checklists are a great method for doing that. Simply listing out the things that are needed for different tasks may be very useful to avoid forgetting to do something or leaving something off the list. On the left is an example of the first apartment checklist, things that will be needed that someone could go through so they can quickly remember everything. The checklists save you time as well, as you don't have to think about the things you might have forgotten. On the right, I've developed a checklist for when I go on travel. These are the things that I need to make sure I don't forget or I've forgotten in the past. Once I go through the checklist, I feel confident that I haven't forgotten anything and I can free up my mind to think about other things. Consider putting a checklist into your process. Standard operating procedures are the documents I was referring to that describe how the process should be done. Oftentimes, this is just a list of information with a lot of text. What we're looking for is a simple, easy to follow method that anybody could use and perform the process. On the example on the left is how to fold a shirt. You can see that there's lots of pictures and very little words. Same with the example on the right, how to tie-dye a shirt. Good pictures, easy instructions. This makes it easy to perform correctly. Oftentimes there is training that is required before they can just follow these instructions, but these SOPs provide a good way to remember the steps in case someone forgets or it has been a while since they've done this process. Can you think of ways to implement an SOP or a checklist into your process? And make sure it's posted in the area where the process takes place so that it's actually utilized. The example below shows the SOP for making mouthwash. This is one of the improvements I made for my project. Now that you've learned the different tools and applied some of the tools to your improvements, it's time to collect data to see if the improvements worked. If your improvements were successful, capture the after data and record it into that column. We'll then have you calculate the percentage of improvement. In the process of making mouthwash, the current process was 5 minutes 46 seconds, and the final process ended up being only 2 minutes and 45 seconds, a 52% reduction. The project was completed on January 16th, 2020. I've included a chart to show the data, but that is an optional thing that is not required. After filling out this sheet, this will be the end of your project workbook, and you are now ready to submit for certification. LeanSixSigmaDefinition.com has a list of glossary items about popular process improvement terms, along with a history of Lean and Six Sigma methods, and key influencers like Dr. Edward Deming, Henry Ford, Taiichi Ono, Shigeo Shingo, and many more. You can also learn how to access affordable Lean and Six Sigma training and certification. Visit LeanSixSigmaDefinition.com.